Hey, everybody, Mr. Chow here, and I'm so excited today to talk to you about the basics of car insurance, day 2 out of 5. So, why teach car insurance? So, number one, my goal is to help you understand what you're buying and really educating you on kind of what a policy is when it comes to car insurance. And then I also want to share with you what I wish I knew at a younger age. So if I knew all of this at a younger age, I would have made better financial decisions. If you haven't already, please join our email list, and the link is in the description below for access to our free note taker and a free certificate of completion that you can put on your professional resume. The majority of my students are high school and college students. So once again, this is a course that you're taking for free online. But if you do all 5 days, then you can get that free certificate of completion. And once again, if you are going to do those 5 days with us, if you could just help me out, subscribe to our channel. That would mean a lot to me. This video took 8 hours to make, 8. And I'm just so grateful to teach it. But yeah, that would be a great way to help me out. All right. And at the end of the video, if you really like this video or if you learned from it, click that like button. It just really helps out the channel. All right, let's begin. So this is day 2 out of 5 days of talking about insurance. And I'm telling you, insurance is something that you're going to need for the rest of your life. So many of you are either driving now or you will be driving in the next few years. And I'm telling you, driving is awesome. I love driving and I just love cars so much. So, but before you get there, and I do want you to jot down this quote, and if you're taking notes here, with great power comes great responsibility. You've heard it before. Driving is awesome, driving is fun, but at the end of the day, you have to realize that you're behind the wheel of a vehicle, and that vehicle has a lot of power. So irresponsibility in driving can lead to, and I want to start with this, fatal accidents, serious injuries, and really it could lead to jail time, a misdemeanor, a felony, heavy fines, which can be very costly and lead to bankruptcy. So if I ever go too quick, go ahead and pause it and make sure you can get these down in your notes. All right, cool. So here's my personal advice on insurance, and I have to be very clear here. Insurance is not, in my opinion, a waste of money. It's not. It's not if you need insurance, it's when you need it. When something happens, that is when we cash in on all the months that we've been paying into insurance. So many times people are like, well, it's a waste of money and I'm throwing away money. Well, once again, when you do need it, it's going to really help you out tremendously. Insurance can give you peace of mind. Like it gives me peace of mind knowing that if a mistake does happen, if I accidentally get in a small fender bender or an accident, then I'll be okay. All right. I'll be covered. And I also wanted to start off by telling you that not all insurance policies are created equal. So many times people will be like, hey, I pay $100 for insurance. Oh, I pay $50 for insurance or $150 for insurance. You get what you pay for. And I'll kind of show you what that looks like later on in this video. But so not all insurance policies are created equal. Now, before we begin, remember, this is a start to your education. Am I going to cover everything you need to know about auto insurance? No. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can, but this is just a start. Give it time, let it soak in, ask questions. Please think about asking a question in the comment box below and I'll respond to all of them. Or if you see a question there that you can answer, help me out and answer it. So the more you ask questions, the more we all learn, including myself, and I love it. So keep doing more research, and yeah, this is a start. And insurance obviously is something we all need, but it's not a part of our formal education, which is why I'm so grateful to teach this online course. So here's our learning plan. And I thought a lot of time about how can I take all this information and pack it into a few points. So first I'm gonna start with some stats and some facts, and then we're gonna look at car costs, because I think that's something that I wanna talk about before we talk about insurance. And then we're gonna talk about how insurance is calculated, how to read an insurance policy, and then what to do if you get in a car accident. I wanna include all these different things. Let's start with some stats. So males have a higher accident or fatality rate than females, right? So stats have shown that all across the board, it doesn't matter what age you are, males have a higher accident rate. Drivers 16 to 18, careful here, are most likely to get in a car accident, so be careful. The average price of a new car in California is $43,580. And I want to show you that for a reason, and I'm going to come back to that in a bit. Every state has different rules, so you got to be careful here. Today, I'm going to talk about all the California rules because that's where I reside, but every single state has different rules on the insurance minimums. Okay. And 1 out of 8 drivers in the US is not insured. Now, from what I've done in my research, all states in the US, but 2 states require insurance. Even the 2 states that don't require insurance, there's other things that they require just to make sure that you have enough to cover yourself in case there's an accident. All right, so let's take a look. So we talked about the average price of car in California is $43,580. Now, for example, for a high schooler who's on a family plan or something like that, it's probably going to be about $125 a year. So I'm just going to use that. It depends what kind of car you drive and all that stuff, but I'm just going to use this for easy math. $125 a month times 12 months equals about $1,500 per year. So many people are like, well, that's a lot of money. But remember, the average price of a car in California is $43,000. 1,500 compared to that isn't that much. So that's how I want you to view it. You're protecting your investment. So let's take that same $125 per month, $1,500 a year. Let's take a sample accident. And once again, it's so hard to quote what a sample accident is, but I just threw together some numbers. Let's say there was multiple cars in this collision. So it amounted to $50,000 in repairs, $20,000 of medical support that is needed. There's $1,000 of car rentals because the people that you hit needed a car. And then there's also some legal fees too because of some lawsuits. So that's $73,000. And if you didn't have insurance, if you didn't pay that $1,500 a year, you would be liable for that $73,000 bill. Do you see that? So that's why we buy insurance. We buy it to cover us in case a large accident happens. All right. So just keep that in mind. So here's my best advice for young drivers. And if you're taking notes, I would write this down. So many times I've realized that the majority of accidents can be prevented if, number one, you watch your speed. Doesn't matter how great of a driver you are. It doesn't matter how great of a car you have. If you drive too fast, you can get in a serious accident. Watch your speed. And number two, keep your distance between you and another car. So many times I see cars tailgating each other on the freeway, and I'm just like, wow, if someone hit the brakes right now and if someone just made one wrong move, there would be an accident. Watch your speed, keep your distance. That is my best advice for young drivers. When my son grows up, when my kids grow up, I'm going to put that on their odometer. Watch your speed and keep your distance, because those two things can help you prevent a really, really big accident. All right. Or really any accident. All right. So next, car costs. I want to talk about this because instead of just talking about insurance, I want you to see a big picture of what cars usually cost. So number one, if you are still making a payment, a lease payment or a finance payment, like an auto loan, then you're going to obviously have to pay that. And that's usually the largest cost. In addition to that, you've got to pay for insurance. In California, it is mandatory for you to have car insurance and or accidents. Those costs. Fuel, gas or electric can cost. Your annual DMV registration, that little sticker costs you money every single year. And every single year you have your car, that number goes down. But I believe that is calculated based on your purchase price of your vehicle. So if you have a really expensive car, then the DMV can charge you more for that little sticker. All right. Maintenance, oil change, repairs, etc. Do you see how it all adds up? Wear and tear, upkeep, tires need to be changed every few years. Paint, car wash, lights, wipers, all these things need to be changed because of wear and tear. And then there's something called depreciation. Depreciation is when the value of your car goes down with the use and the time. So some of you are like, whoa, I never knew that there's this many costs when it came to owning a car, but that's so true. Now, here's the task for you to do. If you're driving a car, like your parents' car or your family's car, and you don't pay for most of those bills, hey, stop this video, go give your parents a big hug and say thank you. Because I'm telling you, I never realized that all these costs were what my parents were paying for me while I was driving in high school. All right, so go give them a big hug and say thank you. Cool. So next, how is insurance calculated? Well, it's calculated based on a few things. So number one, what kind of car you're driving, the price of your car, and obviously the amount of safety features that you have in your car. So many times people are like, well, if I drive a really old car, then it's going to be really cheap. Not necessarily. Some old cars don't have those safety features. And because of that, it's actually more money to insure a really old car. So keep that in mind. Number two, your age and your gender, your driving record. So if you got any tickets, Your miles driven per year, that matters as well. Where you live and where the car is parked, that plays a huge role. They're going to ask you, what zip code is your car parked at? And that's going to factor into your costs. And then finally, the type of coverage, the deductible and the limits, which we're going to talk about right now. So how do you read an insurance policy? And I want to be very clear here. An insurance policy isn't that difficult to read. However, there's some lingo that we're going to go through that I wish I knew when I first got insurance. Now, most agents are incredible because they'll take the time and they'll explain it to you in terms of, hey, here's what this is, etc. But now, like these days, there's a lot of robo agents where you just pay for it on the internet and there's not someone that you can talk to save on costs. So you may not know all these different things. So let's begin. So according to Oxford's dictionary, an insurance policy, that word policy, is a document detailing the terms and conditions of a contract of insurance. So any single time you hear policy, just know that, hey, this is a contract and this is my insurance contract, and with all the terms and conditions. Now, I've simplified it into 5 different things that we're going to talk about. There's a few more, but these are the main 5 in my opinion that I've seen. On the right, I put the minimum that is needed for California insurance, as you can see there. And then here is a sample policy that is mixed between me, like my policy, and really some other policies that I've looked at. Okay, so here are the numbers for those. As you can see, the minimum is probably not the best recommended to get. So yeah, could you save on insurance and buy this super cheap minimum? Yeah, but you get what you pay for. And if there is a bigger accident or something like that, you're going to be liable for the rest of the cost that is not covered. All right. So as you can see here, my limits here are way higher than these ones over here. All right, cool. So let's begin. So if we take a look at it, bodily injury or liability. So if you're taking the notes, here's what that really means when you look at your insurance policy. According to insure.com, this coverage, bodily injury and liability, it pays medical expenses, legal settlements, lost wages. So let's say you hit someone and they can't work anymore. Well, technically, you're going to have to pay their wage. And if not, they can sue you. So as I said, great power comes great responsibility. You have to be very careful here. And injuries that a driver causes to other people. All that money does not insure you. It insures the other person. So make sure you get that down in your notes. This is required almost in all states, but the coverages vary. So once again, this is mainly to cover the medical expenses and all these different things for the other person, right? So that's why $15,000 and $30,000 in California, it's minimum. That's the minimum you can go legally, but you probably want a little bit more. Property damage. And so what does that mean? So according to allstate.com, this coverage pays to repair damage you cause to what? Another person's vehicle or property. Let's say you hit like a Mercedes or a really nice car and you only had $5,000 of property damage. Let's say the total damages is $60,000 and you only had $5,000 coverage. You would need to be liable to pay $55,000 of your own money. That's why people get into credit card debt or they get into other debts or they claim bankruptcy because they didn't insure themselves enough for that, right? This also is someone else's property. So let's say you accidentally hit someone's fence or you accidentally hit someone's house and there's damages. Well, that's covered up to whatever amount you paid. So that's required in most states, but once again, coverages vary. So on those first 2, they're mostly mandatory for most states. Now let's get into comprehensive and collision. These 2 are not mandatory, as you can see there. However, here's what's recommended. So comprehensive, what does that word mean? According to insure.com, this coverage pays for damage to your vehicle. So not someone else's now you're covering your own. So as you can see, let me quickly go back. You don't have to cover your own. You see that? But you have to cover someone else's in case you hit them. But you can cover your own, and that would be a comprehensive coverage. So this is your vehicle that is caused by something what? Other than a collision. So I've written down some examples here for you. A fire, a falling object, an explosion, earthquake, windstorms, flood, vandalism, riot. Like if someone broke into your car and stole a radio, then you could cover your own car. Animals, damaged windshields, etc. Now, I want to be very clear here. As you can see here, there's not like an amount that's covered. Everything's just covered as long as you pay your deductible. And if you're taking notes here, the higher the deductible, so $1,000 would be considered a pretty high deductible. The higher your deductible, the cheaper your monthly insurance. The lower your deductible, so if that deductible is $100, then every single month you would pay more money. So what does that even mean? So what's a deductible? And I want to quickly go into this. According to geico.com, a deductible is the money you pay towards an accident or a claim out of pocket when you file a claim. You see that? So you pay the $1,000, and then if it's more, then your insurance company will pay the rest. So let's take, for example, the average cost of a window. Someone just broke into your car, broke your window. The average cost of a window is $250 to $400, depending on what kind of car you have. So if your deductible is $1,000, that's a high deductible. Is it worth it? Because for you to go fix this on your own, it'd cost $250 to $400. So it wouldn't be worth it for you to claim your insurance, because you'd have to pay $1,000 for you to get anything like that. Now, let's say there's $3,000 of damages. Okay, then it would make more sense to pay the $1,000 deductible, have your insurance cover the other $2,000, and then get it fixed. Do you see that? All right, cool. So next, yes, that's the comprehensive. So next, collision. Once again, this one is not mandatory, but if you want it, there's going to be a deductible. Okay, so $1,000 is what I choose to do because I'm pretty careful. But if I do get an accident, I'd have to pay $1,000 in order to get anything fixed. According to Insure.com, a collision coverage pays for the damage to your vehicle, okay? Your vehicle, resulting from what? A collision with another car or another object, okay? So let's just say someone, you hit someone and your car had $3,000 of damages. Well, if you have collision insurance coverage, then you would pay $1,000 deductible or whatever deductible you set with your company, and you would get your car fixed. Let's say if you don't have collision and you hit someone, well, they're covered, right? Because they have property damage, right? And you could do that, but you are not covered. Do you see that? So these two things are optional, but they are, in my opinion, recommended, especially if you have a newer car. If you have an older car that's not even worth $1,000, then I'd say you probably don't need it. Right? So this is once again up to you. Everyone has a different situation. Let's just take, for example, a bumper, like someone hits your bumper. So the average cost of a bumper replacement or repair, it depends what it is $300 to $500. So this is where, once again, you need to think about, do I want to pay the $1,000 deductible or whatever deductible you set, or just fix it on your own? Okay, so keep that in mind. And just to be clear here, most claims, if you claim it, if you report it to insurance, they may hike up your premium, which is your monthly cost that you have to pay. So keep that in mind. Finally, number 5, uninsured motorists. So in short, Insure.com says that uninsured motorist coverage pays for damages if you or your designated driver is hit by a driver, another person, who is uninsured or underinsured. So let's say if they only had $5,000 and your car got damaged $30,000 and they're like, I can't pay it. Well, someone would need to pay it. So this is where that insurance would come in. This is called uninsured motorists. All right. So keep that in mind. Awesome. So I hope you learned a little bit more about what all these words mean. And I just wish I learned this at a younger age. Remember, every company charges differently. Everyone is in a different situation. Finally, I want to quickly finish off. I know this video is going a little long now, but I want to finish off with, what do you do if you get into a car accident? All right. So once again, I have not been in a car accident, but many, many people close to me have been in it, and I've walked them through it, and I've actually been at the scene as well. All right. So what do you do if you get in an accident? Number 1, breathe. So many times in your mind, you're like, my life is over. Oh my goodness, I just hit this other person. Oh, look at all that damage. You will be fine. This is why we have insurance. Accidents are unfortunate, but they happen to a lot of people. But many people will tell you to be careful. Don't admit fault immediately. Even if you know it's your fault, who knows what was actually going on in the other person's mind. So just be careful here. Okay. So breathe, you'll be fine. Number 2, call 911. If there's injuries, like if anyone got hurt or if someone got injured, call 911 immediately. And if you feel the need to have authorities at the scene, like if you don't feel safe in that moment talking to this person or anything like that, just call 911. Say, hey, I got an accident. Here I am. Please come. And then you can just wait for them. Once again, that is your personal preference. Number 3, try not to move the car and scene too fast. I get it. Sometimes you're in the middle of the road and you're fully blocking traffic. But if you are going to move your car, take photos of everything. See, at the end of the day, when it comes to accidents, it's your word against the other person's word. Even if it's their fault, it's their word versus your word. So the more proof you have, the better. And so many times, if you move the car, then there's no proof as to what actually happened. But if you just stop the car and say, "Hey, here's exactly how the car's stopped," then that's going to help you out tremendously. Obtain names, addresses if possible, telephone numbers, and really that driver's license. You don't have to ask for their address, but if you ask for their driver's license, then on there should be their address and really a telephone number in case you need it. Obtain license plates and vehicle and your VIN number. The VIN number is located on a lot of different places on a car. It's actually located on the driver's side of the windshield. It's like this long letter and code, like kind of uh, formula, and that you can just write down. Why should we get the VIN number? Because that's every VIN number is specific to that car. You can't change it. Your license plate, you can change it. So it's always good to get the VIN number. Number 3, are there any witnesses? If there's someone around, you can just kindly say, "Hey, I'm so sorry to do this, but did you see what happened?" "Yeah, I saw what happened." Look, I hope they won't ask you too much, but if there comes to be a need for it, can you just quickly vouch for me, and can I just get your name and phone number? That would be tremendously helpful, because I know how this all goes down after we all leave here. It's one word versus the other, but if you have a witness, that helps tremendously, because they're a witness to your to what happened. Once again, number 7, take all photographs of the damage. This is your only proof. Take all photographs of the entire scene. Get different photos, okay? Number 8, if the owner of the damaged car or property can't be located, leave a note. And what do you put on the note? So name, time and date, insurance information, and your phone number for them to contact you, and of all the people involved in the accident. If you don't leave a note, sometimes like in your mind, you're like, "Well, no one saw it, I'm just going to leave." That's counted as a hit and run, and you could be liable for bigger charges if that's the case. So be careful on that. Number 9, notify your agent immediately and just call, website, text. Everyone's different. So I would just call my agent real quick and I'd say, "Hey, I just got in an accident. Here I am. Here's my statement." They're going to ask you a first statement, and then that's proof. Okay. And finally, if anyone's injured, if someone died, or if the vehicle damage exceeded $1,000, you have to legally report it to the DMV of your state within 10 days. This is for California. I'm not sure for other states. Failure to notify the DMV can result in the suspension of your driver's license. So once again, it's a lot of stress, because you're like, "Oh, I just don't want to get in an accident." But you have to know it happens. It happens. And that's why we have insurance. All right. So keep that in mind. All right. Cool. Once again, with great power comes great responsibility. I am so grateful for the opportunity to educate all of you as you get on the road. And I really hope that this video was informative and this video helps you out in your life as you go on, in every case anything happens. Please continue to join us on this series. It's so awesome. Day 3, tomorrow, we're going to learn about life insurance, and then we're going to talk about property insurance, and then we're going to look at how to get the best deal. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next.